Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Savana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So we will continue reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter 7, sloka number 38 onwards. We have been dealing with this topic of Vidura and Maitreya's discussion, and in continuation with that, we'll be reading now. पुरुषस्य च समस्तानां स्वरूपं वा परस्य च ज्ञानं च नैगमं यत्तद् गुरुशिष्यप्रयोजनम्. What are the truths regarding the living entities and Supreme Personality of Godhead? What are their identities? And what are the specific values in knowledge in the Vedas? And what are the necessities for the spiritual master and his disciples? Okay, so here we see nice this one description or nice questions that has been put forward. Let's see the purport. The living entities are constitutionally servitors of the Lord who can accept all kinds of service from everyone. So the Lord is the Bhokta. We have been studying, especially like here, Prabhupada is also quoting this 529 as we had yesterday also was discussing this thing. So 529 is Bhoktaram Yajnatapasham Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Nyatva Mam Shanti Muchati. So Bhokta means one who is the enjoyer. Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam, like of all the sacrifices, of all the activities that we perform. Basically, we discussed that any activity that is performed must be an yajna, must be an activity that is meant to please the Supreme Lord. So, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam. So, the Lord is one who can accept all kinds of service from everyone. So he is the actual person who is supposed to accept all kinds of service from everyone, right? And then it is declared in Bhagavad Gita 529 that the Lord is a supreme enjoyer of the benefits of all sacrifices and penances, the proprietor of all that is manifested, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, and the friend of all living entities, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. That is his real identity. Therefore, when the living entity accepts this supreme proprietorship of the Lord and acts in that attitude, he resumes his real identity. In order to elevate the living entity to this standard of knowledge, there is the necessity of spiritual association. So why we have the spiritual association, why we have like the satsang like this, just to remind ourselves that the Lord is a proprietor and Lord has these three qualities. What are the three qualities or three functions or whatever we want to say? The Lord, he accepts all the sacrifices, and he is the master and proprietor of everything that exists, and he is the best well-wishing friend. So this we have to keep reminding ourselves. And we often try to either we ourselves occupy this position instead of Lord, or we often try to take somebody else in this position. Like, for example, best friend of all. So we consider so many things as the best friend at various times. No, we actually take shelter of various things. So it's like Sometimes, when we are able to earn nicely, we take shelter of the money. So we think that, okay, this money is the best friend, and it can actually get me anything and everything I want. So then we take shelter of money. And then we have any powerful person is there, so we take shelter of that powerful person. And in this way, like, so many things may happen. So many different shelters we may take. But actually speaking, all these shelters will only give us anxiety and trouble. No shelter will be like very safe. So for example, recently there is another bank that has declared moratorium. So that is Lakshmi Vilas Bank. Okay, no one bank is there. So, and people who have invested in that, they are so much in tension. So they were thinking, okay, my money is safe, and now the bank is going down. So we see that in different things that we actually depend upon. All these things only will give anxiety and pain and things like that. So we have to be, if we have to be peaceful, we have to take shelter of the Supreme Lord, right? So Suhrudam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the best well-wishing friend of all the living entities. And then the sacrifice, whatever activities we are performing, so for whose pleasure we have to perform. So if we perform for our pleasure, or if we perform for my immediate relatives pleasure, or if we perform for the pleasure of the larger society and things like that, still there will be so much of anxiety and pain. No, but if we perform for the pleasure of the Lord, so then we will be happy, our immediate relatives will be happy, and even the society at large, they will also be happy. So in that way, like, everyone can become happy, just by performing the devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And that is why this is called as peace formula. 529, it's a peace formula. So anytime anybody asks, like, no, I don't have any peace in my life, so immediately we can tell that, no, why don't you read the Bhagavad Gita 529? You will get peace. And not just reading, you have to implement also. So if we can put the faith that I have to do everything for his pleasure, and he is the proprietor of everything, and he is my best well-wishing friend. So any problem is there, first I'll go to Krishna, and I will confess in front of him, and I'll pray in front of him, that in that way, like, when we actually approach Krishna, so then we can actually be peaceful, and we will see that in miraculous ways, like, we will actually get peace. And actually the peace is something that is there deep within us, and it is not to be found anywhere outside. So people always keep searching for it outside, but then it is there deep within us. Okay, so now, to make us reminded of this, that is the necessity of spiritual association. So material things in this world will keep on fading this particular idea. And every day why we should come together and read and hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, because this can actually give us the remembrance. It can actually refresh our faith in the Lord, and it can actually put us back onto this. No, yes, Krishna is the enjoyer of everything. Everything should be done for his pleasure, and no, he is my best well-wishing friend. So these things can be reiterated, and it can be like, we can keep ourselves fully fixed on this conception. No, that's the need of this. That's why this spiritual association is needed. The bona fide spiritual master desires that his disciple know the process of rendering transcendental service to the Lord, and the disciple also knows that they have to learn about the eternal relationship between God and the living entity, from the self-realized soul. To disseminate transcendental knowledge, one must retire from mundane activities on the strength of enlightenment and knowledge in terms of Vedic wisdom. So here it's mentioned, if we have to disseminate this transcendental knowledge, one must retire from mundane activities. So, and that means we have to make our life, which is in all the spheres of our life, should be Krishna conscious. And if we do that, so then we are qualified to disseminate this knowledge to others, right? So this is the sum and substance of all questions in this verse. Okay. In text 39, Nimittani cha tasyeha prokthani anaga suribihi swato jnanam kuta pumsam bhaktir vairagyameva va. Spotless devotees of the Lord have mentioned the source of such knowledge. How could one have knowledge of devotional service and detachment without the help of such devotees? So here it's nicely mentioned. Spotless devotees of the Lord have mentioned the source of such knowledge. So the source of such knowledge is Krishna and the scriptures and things like that. But then how could one have knowledge of devotional service and detachment without help of such devotees? We may have the scriptures, we may have all the details of this knowledge, but it is not possible for us to get this knowledge until unless we what is that we take help of a devotee who is already practicing. This is very important. Until unless we take help of a devotee who is already practicing, it is impossible for us to know the science of Krishna consciousness. Though we may read the scriptures, it is not at all possible for us to access the inner meanings of the scriptures. It always the devotion to the Lord comes from the heart of a devotee to heart of another devotee. It does not come from any other means. Just by my reading or my like my own endeavor, it is not possible. I have to get it from a devotee of the Lord, right? So that's the way of getting the spiritual knowledge. And in fact, the same thing when Hiranyakashipu asks Prahlad that how did you get this knowledge? No, then Prahlad says, he doesn't say that no, I've read it from the books or I got it from the scriptures and things like that. He says that until unless one takes the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord's devotees, and then in fact he says that to take bath, no, mahi yasham pada rajobhishekam, pada raja. No, Pada Raja means like the dust in the lotus feet of the devotees, and Pada Rajobhishekam. No, he says like one must take bath in the this one. That means the dust in the lotus feet of the devotees means the instructions given by the devotees, and that should be taken up in our head, and we should follow the instructions given by the devotees. So then, no, especially the spiritual master. So then we will make so much of spiritual advancement. Then we will get all the knowledge that is necessary, right? So otherwise, it is not just possible to access the spiritual knowledge. Okay, purport. There are many inexperienced persons who advocate self-realization without the help of a spiritual master. They decry the necessity of spiritual master and try themselves to take his place by propagating the theory that a spiritual master is not necessary, right? So now many of the modern gurus, including the Sadguru and these people, their main propaganda is like, why do you want a guru? Why do you know what is that? Like why you have to be dictated by somebody? So you just meditate, you just explore yourself, and things like that. And people who hear him, so they worship him as guru. Like whereas his main teaching is like, no, you don't need a guru. And the same thing like. This is a very this one in one interview when people asked him, he told that no, like I don't read any scriptures, I don't read any Bhagavad Gita and things like that, so I don't want to what is that sell myself to that, or I don't want to limit my thinking based on some scripture. No, I want to expand my thinking. No, this is all very fancy ways of telling this atheism. So this is like literally atheism, right? So anyway, so that is not supported by the scriptures. So anything that is not supported by the scriptures is called atheism, right? Then okay, Srimad Bhagavatam, however, does not approve this viewpoint. Even the great transcendental scholar Vyasadev had need of a spiritual master, and under the instruction of a spiritual master Narada, he prepared this sublime literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. Even Lord Chaitanya, although he is Krishna himself, accepted a spiritual master. Even Lord Krishna accepted a spiritual master, Sandipani Muni, in order to be enlightened. And all the acharyas and saints of world had spiritual masters. So even when God comes, he also accepts spiritual master just to set an example to the people, right? So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Yadyad acharati shreshtas. So like whatever shreshta means the best of the people, like the king or some noticeable people, whatever they do, common people will follow. So now here we see the Lord comes to establish dharma, The Lord comes to teach people what is dharma. And when he comes, he takes a spiritual master and he gives a very, very solid instruction. No, through this, that I am Supreme Lord, I am the source of all knowledge. But still, when I come as a matter of duty, I also take a spiritual master. So, this is really very powerful instruction that Krishna gives. Okay, in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna accepted Lord Krishna as his spiritual master, although there was no necessity of such a formal declaration. So anyway, Krishna was his friend and he was always his well-wisher. He could have just had a casual discussion, but Shishyasteham Shadimam Tam Papannam. So he mentions that I am a disciple to you and I am surrendering to you. Please instruct me. So he withdraws himself from the position of a friend and then he puts himself in the position of a disciple. And in that way, like he gets proper knowledge. So by friendly discussion, we will not get any knowledge. So we have to become, there needs to be a relationship of spiritual master and disciple for knowledge to pass through. Okay, so in all cases, there is no question about the necessity of accepting a spiritual master. Means it is must. The only stipulation is that the spiritual master should be bona fide. That is, the spiritual master must be in the chain of disciplic succession called the parampara system. Suris are great scholars, but they may not always be anaga or spotless. Aga means aga means sin, and anaga means like sinless or spotless. So there is one demon which Krishna kills, who is called as Aghasur. Aghasur means like he is the paap ka swarupta, like no, he's the what is that? He's the pinnacle of sinful activities. So he's called as Aghasur. And in here we see that a spotless spot means what is the black spot that a person may have in the spiritual character. The sinful tendencies or sinful life is the spot that a person may have. And if anaga means a person who's not having any sinful what is that, he doesn't perform any sinful activities at all, so such a person is called anaga. So the anaga suri is one who's pure devotee of Lord. So Suri means a great scholar, and Anaga means he's not just a scholar, but he's not doing any sinful activities. Right? So those who are not pure devotees of the Lord, or who want to be on an equal level with him, are called those who are not pure devotees of the Lord, or who want to be on the equal level with him, are called Anagasuri. A pure devotee has prepared many books of knowledge on the basis of authorized scriptures. Srila Rupa Goswami and his assistants, under the instruction of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, have written various literatures for the guidance of prospective devotees. And anyone who is very serious about raising himself to the standard of a pure devotee of the Lord must take advantage of those literatures. Okay, so here we see that we should take shelter of a person who's a like very, very pure devotee, and who doesn't have any sinful tendencies. And such a person, from such a person we should take our knowledge. And here Prabhupada is very humbly presenting that the previous acharyas, they have given so many wonderful books and we should take shelter of them. So he is not putting himself in the list. So he himself is such an amazing personality, so that he has given so much of wonderful books for us to study and understand the Krishna consciousness and practice. So we should be eternally grateful to Srila Prabhupada. Right? Text 40. एतान् मे पृच्छथ प्रश्नान् हरे कर्म विवित्सया भूरि ब्रूहि मे ब्रूहि मे ज्ञानस्य मित्रवत् अजया नष्ट चक्षुषः. My dear sage, I have put all these questions before you with a view to knowing the pastimes of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are the friend of all, so kindly describe them for all those who have lost their vision. Okay, so Vidura is putting all these various questions, and then finally he's telling that I have put all these questions in order to hear about the Supreme Lord Hari. So that means in the pastimes of the Lord, The Lord clarifies so many of these things just by knowing the Lord's activities and Lord's dealings. So we can actually understand so many things. So any question can be answered, by citing the personal reference of the Lord also. So that's what here Vidura is putting forward. Okay. Purport. Vidura put forward many varieties of questions with a view to understanding the principles of transcendental loving service to the Lord. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 241, devotional service to the Lord is one, and the mind of devotee is not diverted to many branches of uncertainties. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahushaka hi anantasya buddhayo avyavasayina. Right? Vidura's purpose was to be situated in that service to the Lord, wherein one merges and divertedly. He claimed the friendship of Maitreya Muni not because he was Maitreya's son, but because Maitreya was actually the friend of all who have lost their spiritual vision due to material influence. So actually, the sadhus, no, they are the friend of all living entities. Why? Because they give the spiritual vision. No, they give the actual vision to see this world. So till then, people were seeing the matter as all in all, or the matter is supposed to be enjoyed by oneself and things like that. But then, when we get the spiritual vision, we understand, oh, everything that exists belongs to Krishna, and everything should be used for His pleasure. So that is spiritual vision. No, material vision is the moment I see something, oh, I can enjoy this, right? So this is so nice. So, but then spiritual vision means, oh, this belongs to Krishna and this should be used in service of Krishna. So that is spiritual vision. And this is what the sadhus give. And when the sadhus give this, they become the friend of all living entities because they are releasing the living entities from unending chain of karmic reactions just by giving this spiritual vision, right? So otherwise we were using Krishna's property unauthorizedly, and we were getting into so much of crime. No, it's actually a criminal activity, and then we are getting punished by various problems. No, all of us, no, we know that we all have problems in the material life. So that means we have been doing sinful activities, and the spiritual vision that the sadhu gives, gets us free, from committing further sinful activities. And the sadhana that we do, by the way of sincerely chanting the names of the Lord with full absorption and full attention to each and every syllable that has been chanted, so we will get so much of spiritual strength, right? So that we destroy the past acquired karmic reactions, and then we progress in a very very nice way. We progress towards the spiritual world. So this is the benefit. So that is why the sadhus are considered to be the friends of all living entities, because they give this knowledge without any expectation, without they don't want anything in return. They just simply want the living entities who are like very very dear part and parcels of the Supreme Lord, to be again united with the Supreme Lord. That's the only goal of a sadhu. That's the only thing that he is looking for. Okay, text 41. Sarve vedascha yajnascha tapodanani chanaga jiva bhaya pradhanasya nakurviran kalamapi. O spotless one, your answers to all these questions will grant immunity from all material miseries. Such charity is greater than all Vedic charities, sacrifices, penances, etc. So here Vidura is telling that no, if you answer these questions, that will be a greatest charity, and that will be much better than any other charities that is there. Okay. The highest perfectional work of charity is to give people in general immunity from the anxieties of material existence. This can be done only by performing activities in devotional service to the Lord. Such knowledge is incomparable. Cultivation of the knowledge in the Vedas, performance of sacrifice, and distribution of munificent charities altogether cannot form even a part of the immunity from the pangs of material existence that is gained from devotional service. The charity of Maitreya not only will help Vidura, but due to its universal nature, will deliver all others in all times. Thus, Maitreya is immortal. So we see that we are also taking advantage of this knowledge, which is which is discussed at least 5,000 years before. And it's the statement makes great sense here. uh, like we are after 5,000 years of this discussion, we are studying these discussions, and still we are getting benefited by these discussions, right? So they are always fresh, they are always current. These topics are. Okay, text 42. Shri Shuka Uvacha Sahitam Aprashta Purana Kalpaha Kuru Pradhanena Muni Pradhanaha Pravruddha Harsho Bhagavat Katayam Sanchoditasta Tam Prahasannivaha. So now Shukadev Goswami is speaking. So as we know that we have different speakers in Srimad Bhagavatam, and every time a speaker changes, like we will have a slight discussion about that. So we have Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj discussing, and the original discussion is happening between the Suta Goswami and sages of Naimisharanya. So Suta Goswami is citing the discussion between Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, and Shukadev Goswami is citing the discussion between Vidura and Maitreya. So it is a three-level discussion that is happening. So one discussion, in one discussion, the second discussion is cited, and in the second discussion, third discussion is cited, and the third discussion is what we are studying now, no Vidura and Maitreya. And in between, the speaker of that discussion will speak something of his own statements, and the rest of it, like he's just relaying as it is what has happened. Okay. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, thus the chief of the sages, who was always enthusiastic about describing topics regarding the personality of Godhead, began to narrate the descriptive explanation of the Puranas, being so infused by Vidura. He was very much enlivened by speaking on the transcendental activities of the Lord. So here we see that uh, thus the chief of the sages, who's the chief of the sages? Maitreya Muni, right? Who was always enthusiastic about describing the topics regarding the personality of Godhead. So this is one test of a devotee. So whenever there is an opportunity to speak about Krishna, speak about the devotional service, a devotee becomes very, very enthusiastic. That is the purpose for which the sound vibration or the capacity to speak is there. And no vacham shivaikunta guna anuvarnane, right? So a devotee of the Lord, so he is very, very enthusiastic to speak about the Lord, right? So he began to narrate the explanation of the Puranas, being so infused by Vidura. No, like normally they are very, very enthusiastic about to speak about the Supreme Lord, and here they have been questioned about it. So then they'll be like even more enthusiastic, right? So he was very much enlivened by speaking on transcendental activities of the Lord. So when we speak about the Lord, not only we become happy, no, even the person who's hearing, no, he also becomes happy by such a discussion, right? Okay, purport. Great learned sages like Maitreya Muni are always very enthusiastic about describing the transcendental activities of the Lord. Maitreya Muni, being thus invited by Vidura to speak, appeared to be smiling because he actually felt transcendental bliss. Okay, so he was very happy to speak about Krishna. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto of seventh chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Further Inquiries by Vidura. So now we will go to the next chapter. Chapter 8, Manifestation of Brahma from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So very nice chapter. Text 1, Maitreya Uvacha Satsevaniyo Batapura Vamsho Yalloka Palo Bhagavat Pradhanaha Babu Vijiten Babu Vijithe Hajita Kirtimalam Pade Pade Nuta Nayasya Abhikshnam Pade Pade Nutanaya. So at least I can understand this at every step. No, Nutana means like something new, right? So let's see the translation, what it is mentioning there. See, the great sage Maitreya Muni said to Vidura, the royal dynasty of King Puru is worthy to serve the pure devotees because all the descendants of that family are devoted to the personality of Godhead. You are also born in that family, and it is wonderful that because your attempt because of your attempt, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment. Right? So this is he is um, like Maitreya Muni is appreciating the Vidura for questioning such, putting forward such questions, because such questions are bringing about discussion on the topics of the Supreme Lord, and in association of such devotees, no, the topics are becoming very very amazing. So we may discuss about Krishna Katha with an hardcore atheist. So then we may not get such taste in discussing. So no, but then when we discuss this Krishna Katha amongst the devotees of the Lord, so then we will get so much of taste and relish, and it will appear that no, it is always newer, newer and newer at every moment, right? So Anandambudhi Vardhanam Pratipadam. So that is also there. So at every step, there is new bliss that actually unfolds, by discussion about the Supreme Lord. Okay. Purport: the great sage Maitreya thanked Vidura and praised him by reverence to his family glories. The Puru dynasty was full of devotees of the personality of Godhead and was therefore glorious. Because they were not attached to impersonal Brahman or to the localized Paramatma, but were directly attached to Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, they were worthy to render service to the Lord and his pure devotees. Because Vidura was one of the descendants of that family, naturally he engaged in spreading wide the ever new glories of the Lord. Maitreya felt happy to have such glorious company as Vidura. He considered the company of Vidura most desirable because such association can accelerate one's dormant propensities for devotional service. Right? So this is very nice. Even Maitreya is very, very encouraged to have the association of Vidura, because it is in such association, the Krishna Katha actually comes with so much full of vigor. So now we see that in the matchbox and the matchstick, so individually they don't have fire, but then when they come together and when they scratch each other, the fire actually comes. In the same way, no, Krishna also mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Machita Madkata Prana Bodhayantascha Parasparam Katayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. So the devotees of the Lord, they come together, and what comes in the association of devotees is Hari Katha. And that no Krishna Katha becomes so powerful and so relishable and so ever fresh that it actually enlivens the devotees, very, very much. Okay, text 2. Soham Rinam Shulla Sukhaya Dukkham Mahad Kathanam Viramaya Tasya Prav Pravartaye Bhagavatam Puranam Yad Aha Sakshat Bhagavan Rishabhyah. Let me now begin speaking on the Bhagavat Puran, which was directly spoken to the great sage by the personality of Godhead for the benefit of those who are entangled in the extreme miseries for the sake of very little pleasure. So this is amazing. Like we are studying Bhagavatam, and in that, like this Maitreya Muni is telling, now I'll speak about Bhagavatam. So so the Bhagavatam is not just this one version. So we saw in the second canto towards the end of it, the whole Bhagavatam in a summary form in 4 verses. It was spoken by the Supreme Lord. In the same way, like we have many many versions of Bhagavatam, and this is one version which has been we have been blessed with, by the Lord in this Kali Yuga. So we have been blessed with this version of this kind of 18,000 slokas of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are very very fortunate to have that. And here we see that it is Bhagavatam means that which is connected to the Lord and that which is describing the pastimes of the Lord. And this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is given to us, by the Vyasadev, is a great blessings, which is a compilation of such wonderful activities of the Lord and wonderful lessons from the pastimes of the Lord and the devotees of the Lord, that it is so powerful. It's just the right mixture for our disease. No, it can just destroy the ill effects of Kali Yuga, and it can actually give us the pure spiritual consciousness. So in this, for this Kali Yuga, like especially, this is really really very powerful. Okay. Purport: the sage Maitreya proposed to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam because it was especially compiled and traditionally comes down in disciplic succession for the solution of all problems of human society. So it is to be noted that no, Maitreya is speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Because it is especially compiled for relieving all problems of life, and traditionally comes down in disciplic succession for solution of all problems of life. Right. So that is how the Srimad Bhagavatam should be looked upon. And whenever there is a problem in life, so we should remember the statement: I should consult Srimad Bhagavatam in this kind of difficult situation. What is that advised of me? What is it that I should do? So we should take lessons from Srimad Bhagavatam. Otherwise, there is no point in just simply listening to or studying. So we have to also practically, of course, listening itself is so glorious, and no, but if we can actually seek advice from Srimad Bhagavatam for any problems, so then it will be very, very wonderful, right? And if we can study it so nicely that we can offer solution to people based on Srimad Bhagavatam, that's the greatest charity work that we can do, right? So that's the greatest thing that we can, the greatest help that we can do to the people of the society. Okay. Only one who is fortunate can have the opportunity to hear Srimad Bhagavatam in association of pure devotees of the Lord. Jai. So, no, we are all every day coming and reading this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is given by Srila Prabhupada, who's a very, very amazingly pure devotee. So here we see that we are very, very fortunate, to be there in the association and listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. So people who are very sinful, they will not get this interest in studying Srimad Bhagavatam. They will not get interest in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So they will say, okay, fine, no, it's why to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam every day? So we don't need to do this every day, like that. So that means there is this inertia in hearing about Srimad Bhagavatam, means like we have a lot of sinful background. Okay. Under the spell of material energy, the living entity are entrapped in the bondage of many difficulties simply for the sake of a little bit of material happiness. They engage in fruitive activities, not knowing the implications, under the false impression that the body is the self. The living entities foolishly relate to so many false attachments. They think that they can engage with materialistic paraphernalia forever. This gross misconception of life is so strong that a person suffers continually life after life under the external energy of the Lord. If one comes in contact with the book Bhagavatam as well as with the devotee Bhagavata who knows what the Bhagavatam is, then such a fortunate man gets out of the material entanglement. Therefore, Sri Maitreya Muni, out of compassion for the suffering men in the world, proposed to speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam first and last. No, this is the first option and this is the last option. Means there is no other option. So Maitreya Muni just want to give this as the no option. Okay, text 3. Asinam Urvyam Bhagavantamadyam Shankarshanam Devamakunta Sattvam Vivit Vivitsavas Tattvam Ataparasya Kumara Mukya Munayo Anvaprachan. Some time ago, being inquisitive to know, Sanat Kumara, the chief of the boy saints, accompanied by other great sages, inquired exactly like you about the truths regarding Vyasadev, the Supreme, from Lord Sankarshana, who is seated at the bottom of the universe. We see that this is very wonderful, that the four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumar, so like amongst them, so Sanat Kumar, so he accompanied by all other great sages. Now he was inquiring from Lord Sankarshana. Lord Sankarshana means, who's Lord Sankarshana? Is the huge like serpent. No, like Sankarshana is the Ananta Sesha, and the Ananta Sesha, the like all the universes. No, they are all held held up by this Ananta Sesh, right? So this at the bottom of what is mentioned, at the bottom of the universe, we see that the earth crust is being upheld by this Sankarshana. Right, so this Sankarshana, so like generally people cannot go to that region, where it is beyond Atal, Atal, Talatal, like Mahatal, Rasatal, Patal, and all these like subterranean planets. It is even below that place is where Sankarsana is there. And Sanat Kumaras, these great sages, they have access to all these places. So they go there and they are asking from Lord Sankarsana these very questions what Vidura had asked. So it's so easy, for sages, like any question that has been asked, okay, this question has been asked in the past and Lord has answered this, and this is what it is. You just take it. So that is how easy, these spiritual discussions are. So only that we need to know this Bhagavatam. Okay, this is in clarification of the statement that the Lord spoke directly on Srimad Bhagavatam, on the Srimad Bhagavatam, when and unto whom the Bhagavatam was spoken is explained herewith. Questions similar to those put forward by Vidura were asked by great sages like Sanat Kumara and Lord Sankarsana, the plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord Vasudeva answered them. Text 4. Swameva Dishnyam Bahumanayantam Yadvasudeva Bidam Amaninthi Pratyak Dhritakshambhuja Ghosham Ishad Unmilayantam Vibudodayaya. At that time, Lord Sankarsana was meditating upon his Supreme Lord, whom the learned esteem um, as Lord Vasudeva. But for the sake of the advancement of the great learned sages, he slightly opened his lotus like eyes and began to speak. So he was in deep in meditation, no? Um, in the this one, on his Ishtadev, that is Vasudev, and then he was when these questions were put out of compassion or out of desire that these sages also advance in their spiritual knowledge. So in that way, he just opened his eyes and he's speaking about the Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 5. So imagine if we have to go to Sankarshan and ask these questions. First of all, we don't have access to that area, and then no, even if we go there, no, where we will go and ask these questions, and we don't even know like what questions to ask. No, we are so fortunate that these questions were compiled, and the answers by such great personalities are Lord Sankarshana is been compiled in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are getting the benefit of all of it. Right? Swardhunyuda उदारधरै स्व जातकल्पाय जातकलापैर उपस्पृशन्तश्चरणोपदानं पद्मं यदर्चन्ति अहि राजकन्याः सप्रेमनाना बलिभिर्वरार्थाः. The sages came from the highest planets down to the lowest region through the water of the Ganges, and therefore the hair on their heads was wet. They touched the lotus feet of the Lord, which are worshipped with various paraphernalia by the daughters of the serpent king when they desire good husbands. Purport. The Ganges water flows directly from the lotus feet of Vishnu, and its course runs from the highest planet of the universe down to the lowest. The sages came down from Satyaloka by taking advantage of the flowing water, a process of transportation made possible by the power of mystic yoga. We see that these great mystics, so they can actually travel to any place if it is connected by a river. So just by getting into the stream of the river, they can actually go to any destination which is connected by the river. Right? So that's one of the siddhis of a mystic yogi. And these great sages were having all these siddhis. So by taking advantage of Mother Ganges, so they could able to come to the lowest place in the whole universe, the bottom of the universe. And from there, they actually met with Lord Sankarsana. If a river flows thousands and thousands of miles, a perfect yogi can at once transport himself from one place to another simply by dipping in its water. The Ganges is the only celestial river which flows throughout the universe, and great sages travel all over the universe via this sacred river. The statement that their hair was wet indicates that it was directly moistened by the water originating from the lotus feet of Vishnu, the Ganges. Whoever touches the water of the Ganges to his head surely touches the lotus feet of the Lord directly and can become free from all effects of sinful acts. So this is one nice benefit we also have. So if we want to know this, we see that if we touch the Ganges water to our head, it is as good as touching the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, to our head. So it is so very purifying, so very nice. So how we can do this? We can just invoke the Ganges in the water. So whenever we are taking bath, we can actually invoke the Ganges by chanting mantra. So Ganges is a spiritual entity. So we can actually invoke Ganges by chanting this mantra, right? So we have this hmm, Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sannidhim Kuru. So this, by this prayer we can actually invoke all the holy rivers into the water, and then we can take the bath. So then it is as good as taking bath in all these holy rivers, right? So that's how powerful this mantras are. Okay. Hmm. Where we were there. If after taking a bath in the Ganges or being washed of all sins, a man guards himself against committing further sinful acts, then certainly he is delivered. But if he again takes up sinful activities, his bath in the Ganges is as good as that of the elephant who nicely takes bath in the river but later spoils the whole thing by covering himself with dust on the land. Right? So, elephant bathing is actually a phenomena, so which has been cited in the scriptures often. No kunjara sauchavat. Sauchavat means saucha means like to take, to cleanse oneself or to take bath. No, kunjara means the elephant. No, kunjara saucha vat means like taking a bath like a elephant. So the elephant actually goes to the river. It just takes bath and then comes out and puts all the mud over it. So in the same way, if somebody is like taking a bath and then what is that? Purifying himself and taking a bath in the Ganges and then comes out and again performs sinful activities. So then what's the point, right? So he's not getting the benefit. So he's destroyed all the sinful reactions and again performs sinful activities. So text 6, Muhur Granto Vachasanu Raga Sak, Sakalat Padenasya Kritani Tajnaha Kirita Saha Saramani Praveka Pad Padyotitodhama Panana Sahasram. Okay, now this is small only we can do. The four Kumaras, headed by Sanat Kumara, um, who was who were who all knew the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, glorified the Lord in rhythmic accent with selected words full of affection and love. At that time, Lord Sankarsana, with his thousand of raised hoods, began to radiate an effulgence from the glowing stones on his head. Purport: the Lord is sometimes addressed as Uttama Shloka, which means one who is worshipped with selected words by devotees. A profusion of such selected words comes from a devotee who is fully absorbed in affection and love for the devotional service of the Lord. There are many instances in which even a small boy who was a great devotee of the Lord could offer excellent prayers in the choicest words for glorification of the Lord's pastimes, um, glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. In other words, without the development of fine affection and love, one cannot offer prayers to the Lord very suitably. So, if we have to do if we have to offer proper prayers to the Lord, then we need to have this love and devotion towards the Lord. And how do we get it? No, right now we have one great opportunity. So that opportunity is every day we are sitting down to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and no, we it is very glorious. And when we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, we can actually focus on the names very clearly and distinctly, and then think that I am chanting these names because it has been ordered by my spiritual master, because it has been ordered by Srila Prabhupada, and that is why I am chanting these rounds. And for their pleasure, for the pleasure of Krishna, I am chanting these rounds, and then I have to be focused on these rounds and things like that. So then it will be of very great value. right? So so with this we will stop here for today. No, I'll just have one small thing. Just a minute.